In this video, I want to introduce to you what I call the pelvic floor breathing. It's not very different from the diaphragmatic breathing or the belly breathing or abdominal breathing that you might have heard in other movement practices or in yoga practice. But I like to call it the pelvic floor breathing because that is what our focus is going to be on. That is where our awareness and attention is going to go, to our pelvic floor through the course, through all the practices, or through most of the practices at least that we engage in within this course. Okay, so now to begin, I'm going to talk you through finding our pelvic floor in this seated position. So you come into any cross-legged seated position that you are comfortable in. I always recommend using a block or a cushion, something, some height, and I'll show you from the side why. Some height so that your lower spine has some space to lengthen. Now, when we are sitting on the floor, most of us, there is a curve that your lower spine goes under your hips, and that is not what we want. We want to make it easier for our body. And here I think it's going to be quite clear in the video. I hope I'm not just imagining, and it is going to be clear. Oh, it's going to be clear. This lengthening, this height, and the fact that your knees fall lower than the hips will give space for your lower spine to lengthen. Now that we are in this position, let's find the pelvic floor. So your pelvic floor can be understood as this diamond shaped muscle that runs, that connects to 4 spots. That's why the diamond shape, that connects to 4 points. At the back, where you see my thumb meeting, at the back, it connects to your tailbone, and your tailbone is here, right under where your butt crack begins, and inside. So it's curved. Your tailbone is really like curved like this. It's inside. So it's somewhere here and inside. That's your tailbone. It's quite sensitive. This is a self-paced video recording, so you can feel free to touch and find that spot in your body. So that's the thumb part. In the front, it's your pubic bone. What's your pubic bone? The right part of your hip bone and your left part of your hip bone are connected at the pubis. So we are going to find that point where my index finger is meeting, that point here, which is right here. Now this would be where your, oh my god, I don't know the word for that outer labia. Oh my god. Labia, your vaginal like slit, outer, not inner, outer slit almost begins. It's right there. So here. So I'm using my fingers to feel those 2 points. Here, this also goes inside a little bit, and here, this is also going inside a little bit. So I'm digging in a little bit to feel that. And the distance between them is actually quite narrow. Or maybe it's narrower than I feel. I feel like my body is really wide and it's not. So somewhere here. Now we're going to curve and arch just the lower spine to feel those 2 spots. Now I'm going to show you the curve and arch first actually. So this is how I'm going to hold my upper body as much as I can still and not engage my upper body. Only as a reaction it's engaged or as a response. I'm curving and arching. I'm curving and arching. I'm curving And actually I need to curve more. So I'm going to remove this because I'm doing this exercise to feel those two spots. So we can't feel it together. I'm going to, in this position, I'm going to curve and feel the tailbone on the floor and arch. You can't feel the pubic bone on the floor with this. Feel, curve and arch. Curve and arch. Oh, yeah. It's also like inside, so you kind of, yeah, kind of, yeah, you need to, it'll feel different for everyone. You kind of have to play with that a little bit and see which is the, what part of your spine is like the end of the spine and then coming in contact with the floor. How is that end of your spine? Where, in which curved position is it touching the floor? We're not going to do too much of it. Just play with it a little bit. Keep going. If you feel like, oh my god, my body's not making any connection, what is going on, don't worry. We'll keep coming back to this. All these loose ends will connect as we proceed, so don't worry about that. Now for the front, just, we are not going to sit on anything just for this one. We're going to take our heel in, whichever you want. If right, I'm going to take the left in. That's more comfortable for me. So I'm going to take the left in. And I'm going to, now my heel is going to feel my pubic bone. So I'm going to press my pubic bone to the heel just to feel it. So you see arching and then curving. This is how much I need to curve actually for my tailbone to go meet the floor. And arching just here and curving. Arching and curving. Now coming back to sitting here on our block, on our cushion, on our folded blanket. And so here we go. Curve, arch. I'm not going now when I'm curving, I'm not trying to feel the tailbone really. I'm just curving and arching, making it smaller and smaller till I find a comfortable setting. That's the word I want to use. A setting down there which feels comfortable, which is not too arched, not too curved, but I feel like I can balance. But what were you rolling on? What were you rolling on? How were you able to like roll? Those are your sit bones, your right and your left sit bones. So roughly for the sake of our understanding for now, we are going to see the pelvic floor as this pelvic diamond, a diamond shaped muscle. Obviously it's made of fibers and sheets and it's not like just like a diamond structure. Yeah, so on the right and the left points of the diamond are your right and your left sit bones. So you want the sit bones to drop straight into the floor, and you have the front, the pubic bone and the back. And take a moment here to visualize that diamond shape. It's kind of not a flat and a plain diamond, right? You can already feel it because your sit bones are touching the floor, and I'm saying your pelvic floor is connected to your sit bones. Your pubic bone is here, it's not touching the floor or whatever cushion that you're sitting on. And your tailbone is also not touching. So the shape, your pelvic floor muscles are not flat, they're not on one plane. They are it's kind of like a dome, kind of like a very shallow dome. So your pelvic floor muscle between these 4 points is like a shallow dome. Take a moment there with that to feel. To feel into what that means for you and how you are visualizing and connecting to that area. If you want, you can pause the video here and take a few moments by yourself. Draw the diamond out. And yeah, I guess you're back and we're ready to move forward with this. So I called the pelvic floor muscles kind of in like a shallow dome, in the shape of a shallow dome. Your pelvic floor muscles are directly supporting 3 organs. 3 structures, let's call it structures for now. One is your uterus, which is an organ. Then also your anal opening and your vaginal opening. That is the uterus. Your urinary opening. Sorry. Yeah, your urinary opening or a urethra. I should get better with these terminologies. I will in time. So, yeah. So this diamond shaped muscle, imagine 8, a shape of 8 here. It's like this and it's kind of like a shallow dome. And imagine a 8 here. Now where the 2 circles of the 8 meet, is your perineum. It's that bridge between your vaginal opening and your anal opening. And this 8 shaped muscle is going around your vaginal opening and your anal opening this way. Let's take a moment to feel that. So we're going to squeeze the muscles around our anus and release very gently. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Now let's squeeze the muscles around our vaginal opening. Squeeze like you're sucking something in, taking something in through your vagina, and release slowly. Squeeze very gently. and release. Squeeze and release. You can also, for your first session, it's not that important, but since we are here, let's try it. You can also squeeze your, is it any different? This is my question for you actually. When you squeeze to hold your pee, do you feel any different from squeezing your vaginal or anal muscles? I feel like for me, they are connected. I can definitely feel like a connection, but I'm able to engage them differently. Now I'm squeezing my urethra, the muscles around my urethra, which is set inside the 8 of the vaginal uh, opening, inside the 8 part, the part of the 8, the top of the 8 of the vaginal opening. I feel like when I squeeze just the urethra, it's kind of superficial and it's very much towards the pubic bone. I can feel it right under my pubic bone. And then when I squeeze my vaginal opening, I feel like my sit bones are also coming together. When I squeeze my vaginal, I can literally feel like something I could, if I had enough strength, I could just, that's the image that I'm getting. And anal is also engaging my sit bones. But I can also really isolate it. In the sense, just like my urethra, like my vagina, I can feel like I can just suck and go up the vaginal opening when I squeeze the walls of, like the walls of my vagina also get squeezed. With anal, I can keep it small and it's towards the back. I can engage, I can feel my tailbone, and again with my urethra, I can keep it really small, just around my pubic bone as well, and release. Now coming back to the shallow dome, the feeling of shallow dome. Now every time we take a full breath, the kind of breath that our body takes in a relaxed state of mind, the breath, it goes all the way to the pelvic floor. It's meant to go. A full deep breath is meant to go all the way to the pelvic floor. Why? This is like our diaphragm. This is our rib cage actually. This is our rib cage. And under this is like our diaphragm. And our diaphragm is a dome shaped muscle that is covering our rib cage. Let's take a moment and feel the rib cage. Yeah, let's take a moment and feel the rib cage, and our diaphragm is here, dome shaped clearly, like that. You see, our ribs are longer here and then shorter here. They literally curve, dome here. Okay. And as we inhale, the dome shaped diaphragm here pushes down to create space for the lungs to expand and take in the air. Make sense? So as you inhale, the lungs expand. Let's keep our hands here. We inhale. And the lungs expand, and exhale. The lungs contract. As we inhale, the diaphragm pushes down. Okay, the diaphragm pushes down. When the diaphragm pushes down, it's pushing all the organs down. All the organs that are here gets pushed down, all the way down to our pelvis. So our pelvis is also like dome shaped. And as we inhale, it's meant to take the pressure and also create space for these organs. So with every breath our organs are moving. There is a bounce in the body, there is a rhythm in the entire body. Amazing, right? Let's give that a moment. For every inhale you take and exhale you take, there's a dance happening in the body. Okay. So you inhale, the diaphragm pushes the organs down. Your pelvic floor, remember the diamond and the shallow dome, that also pushes down. So as you inhale, there is a feeling of like this sort of lengthening. That's the feeling, because there is this expansion here and then there is a expansion of pushing down. The lifting of your lungs also causes a lengthening of the spine upward. So there is this opposite action you feel in the body. At any moment, like this is what this self-paced video is for. At any moment, like stop the video, take a pause, feel it, and then come back to it. So we go back to inhaling, expanding the lungs. And exhale, contracting. Feel that contraction, feel that contraction. The space is expanding. It's called also belly breathing because in that expansion, it's not just in this direction. There is that your pelvic floor muscles are connected to your abdominal muscles as well. So they expand in all directions. Not so much to the back, but they expand to the back as well. But not so much because it's our spine and we are very bony and spinal at the back. There's more space for the organs and that kind of bounce and movement in the front. So again, we inhale. This rises of the chest, the lungs. And this push down is of the pelvis and the diaphragm, both pushing down. And exhale. Let's do this a few times together. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. exhale. And come back to me. So one more detail before we close the video and this concept around pelvic floor breathing. Remember I spoke about the 8 shaped muscles. So there is this diamond. All of them are made of these sheets of muscles. And then there is this 8 shaped muscle. And right at the center of that 8 shape where the 2 rounds of the 8 meet is your perineum, the bridge. It's that sensitive part that divides keeps your anal and your vaginal opening separate. I'm giving that pause for you to feel that in your body. If you want, I hope you are taking like breaks with this, shaking yourself out, walking around the room. And coming back. Feel free to readjust your poses and positions how many ever times. Feel free to readjust. Okay. So the perineum is like the center of your pelvic dome. Let's call it the pelvic dome. Your perineum is the center of your pelvic dome. And as you inhale, feel the perineum push down. And exhale, up. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to think of as the perineum pushes down, think of like a dome. And if the center of the dome pushes down, it needs, like your chest is rising and making space for the dome to flatten, right? It'll need more surface area. When it's a dome, it needs less surface area. And then when it pushes down, it needs more surface area. So things are pushing away. So in a very smaller scale, in a smaller scale compared to your ribs and your diaphragm, your pelvic dome is also pushing out, flattening, creating space as it goes down. So there is a sense of the tailbone and your pubic bone, this diamond, all of them moving away from each other. Your sit bones, your pubic bone and your tailbone, as you inhale, they go perineum pushing down, and as you exhale, the perineum lifts up. See if you can feel into that. Visualize that, imagine that. The movement is very small. It's not as visible and as big as your chest. But you do feel a sort of like, so we inhale, there's this diamond becoming bigger. Exhale. There is a gentle squeezing together. Gentle. Inhale. And exhale. Squeeze. See if you can just squeeze the perineum, or rather let's gently squeeze both the vaginal and the anal muscles, the 8. So that will pull, that will also engage the other parts of the pelvic floor. So as we exhale, we are gently squeezing, and as we inhale, gently releasing. And let's do that a few times. Inhale. Exhale. Gentle squeeze of those muscles. Don't think about what's right or wrong. It'll all fall into place and start making sense. It's important to not judge, just to engage. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale. And exhale. And that's our lesson for week 1. So it is important to not judge. It is important to, if this is very new for you, it is important to not let yourself be, let your mind go into places of what is right and what is wrong, because as we engage the other parts of the body, it will start making more and more sense if it's not already. Our entire body is connected. So in some way or the other, as we proceed with the course, we will realize that in whatever activity that we do, somehow the pelvis is involved. So as we engage our feet, our knees, our hips, our spine and other things, we will find more and more clarity in how we can engage our pelvic floor. This we will keep coming back to this breathing, and this breathing will open itself more and more. I promise you that.